Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Janitai Go Premanandi. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sisi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Brajbhumi Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Si Harinam Sankirtan Jagya Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jainitai Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Good afternoon, everyone. Is anyone here for the first time? Oh, welcome. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Today we will read from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We will read from chapter 12. We will look at texts 13 and 14. First I'll read the Sanskrit. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadhuka sukakshami santushta satatam yogi yatatma dridhanishchaya mayarpita manobudhir yomad bhakta same priyaha. The English translation: one who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. This is Lord Krishna speaking. We'll read the purport, the commentary by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Coming again to the point of pure devotional service, the Lord is describing the transcendental qualifications of a pure devotee in these two verses. A pure devotee is never disturbed in any circumstances, nor is he envious of anyone, nor does a devotee become his enemy's enemy. He thinks, this person is acting as my enemy due to my own past misdeeds, so it is better to suffer than to protest. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8, it is stated, Tatenu kampam susamikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Whenever a devotee is in distress or has fallen into difficulty, he thinks that it is the Lord's mercy upon him. He thinks, thanks to my past misdeeds, I should suffer far, far greater than I am suffering now. So it is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that I am not getting all the punishment I am due. I am just getting a little by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is always calm, quiet, and patient despite many distressful conditions. A devotee is also always kind to everyone, even to his enemy. Nirmama means that a devotee does not attach much importance to the pains and trouble pertaining to the body, because he knows perfectly well that he is not the material body. He does not identify with the body, Therefore, he is freed from the conception of false ego and is equipoised in happiness and distress. He is tolerant and he is satisfied with whatever comes by the grace of the Supreme Lord. He does not endeavor much to achieve something with great difficulty. Therefore, he is always joyful. He is a completely perfect mystic because he is fixed in the instructions received from the spiritual master. And because his senses are controlled, he is determined. He is not swayed by false arguments because no one can lead him from the fixed determination of devotional service. He is fully conscious that Krishna is the eternal Lord, so no one can disturb him. All these qualifications enable him to fix his mind and intelligence entirely on the Supreme Lord. Such a standard of devotional service is undoubtedly very rare, but a devotee becomes situated in that stage by following the regulative principles of devotional service. Furthermore, the Lord says that such a devotee is very dear to him, for the Lord is always pleased with all his activities in full Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulam Militam Yenam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Krishna is speaking in the end of the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The 12th chapter begins with Arjuna asking a question. Arjuna asks, there's various types of transcendentalists. Some are focusing on the Lord in his impact, in his impersonal form, in his impersonal feature. And others are focused on the Lord in his personal feature. So he asks Krishna, please tell me, which is best? And Krishna explains that both paths are there in spiritual life. Either an impersonal type of worship or a personal type of worship. But ultimately, Krishna concludes that worshiping his personal form is the faster, more assured process in spiritual life. Excuse me. And in the end of the chapter, Krishna is he's explaining all these beautiful qualities of what it means to be a real Vaishnav, a real accomplished, pure devotee of the Lord. And I think these qualities are very powerful to remember, to meditate on, to try to imbibe in our own lives, in our day-to-day living. So I'll read the verses again. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities. Imagine if we didn't have envy in our lives. Imagine if we could really appreciate when others are successful. If we could even have more happiness to see others doing well. Generally, our tendency, especially if it's in something, someone has something that we want, or is achieving a goal that we wish we could achieve, the tendency is to become a little irritated. Why are they getting something? What about me? So that's envy, and that's considered an unwanted impurity of the heart. And Krishna is saying that the pure devotees are free from envy. We're worshiping at the feet of Radha Kalachandji. Kalachandji is the Supreme Lord, and Radha is the Lord's greatest devotee. The service of Radha is unparalleled by any other devotee. And what it's described is that the core of Radharani's heart is so absolutely selfless, so absolutely compassionate, that her interest isn't just in her own intimate, exalted relationship with Krishna, but she has absolutely no lusty feeling, no feeling of possession. She wants that others can have the same experience, the same mood, the same type of service as she has with her Lord. In other words, Radharani's service is absolutely free from all envy. In fact, it goes so far as to say that when Radharani is personally serving Krishna, first of all, just by being in that position of the servant of Krishna, even she is experiencing a happiness 10 million times more than Krishna is experiencing. Another name for Radharani is Mahabhav Swarupini. It means that when she is experiencing ecstasy to the highest degree. There is no one that can experience ecstasy more than her. So imagine she's experiencing even 10 times more bliss, 10 million times more bliss, or anand, than even Lord Krishna is experiencing by receiving her service. And it says further than that when Radharani will engage others in the service of Krishna, that will give her even 10 million times more happiness than that. So what is the selfless quality? That she has no sense of possession. She is even more happy to see others happy. This gives her such a great joy. And so in that way, her happiness, her bliss is ever expanding. And it's exactly that quality that is at the heart of the Sankirtan movement. Because Radharani just wants to engage others in the service of Krishna and to have an experience of the topmost bliss that she enjoys in her intimacy. And so when the Lord comes in the role of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it means Krishna has come taking that absolutely selfless, absolutely compassionate mood of his greatest devotee Radha, and so is eager to bless even the most fallen, even the most wretched, conditioned souls of Kali Yuga. The example is there that Gornitai, in their preaching, even they delivered Jagai and Madhai. Jagai and Madhai were very degraded people who were infamous for being very greatly sinful. Even it says that Yamaraj, he has his servants keeping records of everybody's sins. And the sins of Jagai and Madhai, it was like difficult even to keep track. It was just off the charts. But still, Gornitai, they have such compassion, such selflessness. Even they want to bless these people. Even they want them to be happy. It makes them happy even to see Jagai and Madhai become happy. So, this is like an example of being free from envy, being absolutely selfless. In our own lives, we can also reflect, a Vaishnav should be selfless. A Vaishnav should be free from envy. A Vaishnav should be happy when others are doing well, when they're successful. And especially if someone else is advancing, is succeeding in spiritual life, then this will give the Vaishnav the greatest happiness. And so in our mission, in our Sankirtan mission, to encourage others in chanting Hare Krishna, in taking to devotional service, this is the most rewarding, most satisfying for a Vaishnav, to see others advancing in spiritual life. Krishna says, a Vaishnav does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, which means, what do I really own? An ordinary person, a materialistic person, they're working hard just to try to acquire more objects, things that they can try to enjoy, more types of opulence, more comfort, convenience, things that give them some sensual stimulation and satisfaction. That's generally the ordinary way of life. But a Vaishnav is thinking, actually everything belongs to the Lord. And even those things which I think are mine, they don't really belong to me. Just they have been put in my care. But I should not use them in a mood of selfish sense gratification, which means I shouldn't just try to exploit these resources for my own enjoyment. I should see everything as belonging to the Lord, and I should try to use things in the Lord's service. Our great Acharya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has a very beautiful prayer that's in our Vaishnav songbook. Manasa deho geho jo kichu mor, arpilu tua pade nanda kishore. He's praying, oh my Lord, body, mind, family, whatever may be mine, I have surrendered at your feet, O youthful son of Nanda, O Nanda Kishore. In good fortune or in bad, in life or at death, all my difficulties have disappeared by choosing those feet of yours as my only shelter. All of my difficulties have disappeared. Because if I have to suffer gain and loss, pleasure and pain, sometimes I'm having a good day, sometimes I'm having a bad day. If I have to suffer and enjoy all those things, then I'll never really be satisfied. But if I recognize everything is that God is controlling everything, everything belongs to the Lord, everything that I think is mine, actually it belongs to Him. Maybe I'm just a caretaker, but I should engage everything in the Lord's service. If one will really have that consciousness, really have that feeling, then what's the difficulty for such a person? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, "Slay me or protect me as you wish, for you are the master of your eternal servant. Even my body may live or die. My soul is eternal, so what's the harm? Even this body, it belongs to the Lord." To have such a consciousness, to be completely free from sense of proprietorship, is most powerful for attaining real peace, real happiness, and that is that's the mood, that's the consciousness of a Vaishnava. Krishna says, engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. This Bhagavad Gita is a portion of the Mahabharata, the great epic of India. And in that Mahabharata, Krishna's devotees, the Pandavas, Arjuna is the middle brother of the Pandavas. They have to suffer so much, actually. They're most qualified people. The elder brother of Arjuna, there's so much injustice that's done to them, especially by their cousins. And at one point, Arjuna's elder brother, he becomes emperor of the world. That's described in the Krishna book. There's a story about the Rajasuya Yagya, how the Pandavas did the Rajasuya Yagya to establish Yudhisthira as the emperor. But their cousins, who are the antagonists of the epic, they're so envious of the Pandavas that by some trick, by like some manipulation, they kind of force their cousins into a gambling match. And in that gambling match, they had the Kauravas, they have someone on their side, Shakuni, who's very tricky. And by playing dice and gambling, that Shakuni managed to take away everything from the Pandavas. They lost their whole kingdom, all of their assets. And further than that, their wife, Draupadi, was very horribly insulted. And the Pandavas, after that incident, they were forced into exile. So imagine going from being the emperor to being forced into the forest to live in exile. That was the condition of the Pandavas. But the Pandavas were such great devotees that they were steady. They were self-controlled and engaged in devotional service with determination. His mind and intelligence fixed on me. They're a great example. Always surrender to the Lord, even in the midst of very horrible trouble. So anyway, these are a few points. We could speak so many more. I made a few more notes. But I'll just read the verse again, and then we'll ask for any comments, questions. Krishna says, "One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me." Anyone have any comments, reflections, questions? Asking? We know from Bhagavatam, Krishna mentions tolerance. What does he say? Mm. Even so many great devotees were forced to suffer so much distress. You can think of the example like of Prahlad Maharaj. His demoniac father was torturing him with fire, poisoning him, trying to throw him off a cliff, elephants. But Prahlad Maharaj stayed so absolutely steady, so absolutely fixed, even in the face of so much adversity. Or we know the example of Srila Haridas Thakur. Because he was born in a Muslim family, but he was a very most serious chanter of the holy names. There's a great description at a place called the Siddhabakul tree in Jagannath Puri. The Siddhabakul tree is where Haridas Thakur would chant. He's our Namacharya. And when it describes Haridas Thakur, it says he was the personification of the verse Trinadapi Sunichena Todorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. One should chant the holy names in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree. One should offer respects to everyone without expecting any respect in return. And in such a state of mind, one should chant the holy names constantly. So Haridas Thakur, there's several stories how people mistreated him, dealt with him badly. At one point, because he was from a Muslim background, the Muslim ruler was like very angry with Haridas, that why are you accepting the Hindu religion of chanting the names of Krishna? And to Haridas, he thought this was a very external angle of vision, that, I'm worshiping the Lord. And he was so attached to the chanting of the names of the Lord that he wouldn't give it up. And so the Muslim ruler ordered that Haridas Thakur be continually beaten by the police until he gives up his life. And so the Haridas Thakur, they tried to beat him, and they brought him in 22 different marketplaces, beating him. And it's described, Haridas had such a compassion, such an incredible tolerance, such a transcendental consciousness, that even in that most horrible, difficult situation, only he was thinking, "Oh Lord, please forgive these people who are attacking me like this." So what an incredible example of tolerance. Bhagavatam describes the curse of Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was the grandson of Arjuna, the son of Arjuna's son Abhimanyu. And he became the emperor after the Pandavas retired. And he was like a Mahabhagavat emperor. But somehow, by some unfortunate misstep, misunderstanding, a young Brahmin boy who had great power, but maybe who was not fully qualified in Brahminical discrimination, he cursed Maharaj Parikshit to die because of a perceived offense that Maharaj Parikshit had done against his father. And Maharaj Parikshit, he accepted that. He accepted that very humbly. Even though it wasn't correct how he was cursed. It was an injustice how that small boy cursed him. But as a great Vaishnav, he just peacefully accepted that this is what the Lord wants. And so his example is that for the remaining 7 days of his life, he just submissively heard from the great devotee Sukadev Goswami so that he could advance and be in full Krishna consciousness at the time of his death. What another powerful example. Yes, Prabhu, thank you for asking a question. Yes, please. Great question. How can we become less envious? Our practice is to hear and chant the glories of the Lord and his devotees. And like here in Bhagavad Gita, we're hearing that a Vaishnav should be non-envious. A Vaishnav should be a friend to all living entities. And we should try to keep that in mind in our day-to-day life. We can look at the ideal of the great Vaishnavas, the great devotees. If you'll examine the lives of Srila Prabhupada, of the Acharyas, of the great Vaishnav devotees, you'll find all good Vaishnav qualities manifest in those personalities. And so by hearing about them, by learning about them, by hearing how they live their lives, we can take great inspiration and encouragement and try to proceed on the path of Krishna consciousness. And when some situation comes that provokes us in such a way that our envy, our jealousy gets aroused, then we can try to remember those things. How are the Vaishnavas behaving? How are the Vaishnavas acting? And we should try to follow them, try to follow their spirit, follow their mood. And in general, the process of Krishna consciousness, hearing and chanting about the Lord, should keep us in a mood of spiritual consciousness, where we're acting on a platform of spiritual knowledge. Generally, everybody is thinking, I am this body. Everybody is thinking, the things in relationship to this body belong to me. And they're thinking, I'll become happy on the platform of sense gratification by trying to enjoy my senses. You know, there's some pleasure when I eat tasty things, and when I see nice things, and when I touch nice things, and when I hear nice things. People are living for that. But a transcendentalist, a devotee, a spiritualist, has a higher consciousness and is not thinking in such small-minded terms. So the more we practice Krishna consciousness, the more we can hope to overcome such kind of anarthas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, Chaito Darpanam Arjanam. By the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, we're cleansing the anarthas from the heart so that spiritual reality becomes more apparent to us. Is that okay? Did you say there are 5 lessons in the Bhagavad Gita? There are 5 lessons of the Bhagavad Gita. What are those 5 lessons? Oh, the 5 topics of the Bhagavad Gita. Well, the Bhagavad Gita concludes with like a final instruction. Sarva dharmam parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papyevyo moksha yashyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me, Krishna says. I will protect you from all sinful reactions, do not fear. That's like the final instruction of the Gita, so we can say that that's really the conclusion, to be followed, to be understood. Is that okay? Right. The topics are what? Material nature, the living entity, the Lord, karma, and time. Did I get that right? So understanding that, having some understanding of all those topics will help us understand what is our real position, what is our nature, what is our duty. All of those topics, you can't exactly say that one is more important. They all have their great importance, and they all need to be understood, at least to some level, to advance in spiritual life. But if you don't understand anything else, it's okay. Just we should understand, I am the Lord's eternal servant, I should surrender to the Lord. Even that much is very nice. that okay? Why is time being discussed? Well, because our activities in the world are taking place over time. In time, we're accruing our karma. How are we, if we're using our time for developing Krishna consciousness, we can transcend the modes of nature. And if we're using our time in material sense gratification, our future will be something material. Any other comments, questions? Okay, maybe we'll leave it there for now. I thank you all very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Haribo.